Okay, that does kind of tie into what Joe and I were talking about this morning. The words that I want to put with it is what lens are we looking at our life through? We have, there's, the teachings out there that there's multi-dimensions that we exist in and we can move through in and out of. And there's higher vibrations, there's lower vibrations. We only know what we know, but there's this whole other box of the unknown. And so this morning it was like letting go of the need for this home and property that I've wanted for years. It's like, my imagination's building, it's got to be around this kind of environment, la, la, la. And I was like, well, how does this happen? How does this happen? Like, I'm not going to make this happen. And inside me, all of a sudden, I had this voice where it's like, let go of the need for it. And then a couple of weeks later, it's changed to my perspective of this happening in my life. It's more like watching it happen versus controlling the how it's happening. It's sort of makes this feeling inside of me really relaxed and really calm and not so, restricted. And when I say restricted, Joe was talking to me about how when a fish is swimming in the ocean, it doesn't feel resistance of the water. Right? It just goes. It's like us walking down the street. We don't feel the resistance of the air around us. Yet there is a substance of some kind. There is a resistance.
Gravity.
Yeah, like gravity. Yeah, we're just not aware of that. So is the moving forwards in our lives too. We have these resistances around us that we're not quite aware that exist. When you're talking about moving through different realities and perceptions, those are our sort of resistance levels that we created or that we're experiencing around it. And so I wonder, in that way for you, Terria, when it comes to this new job and having to go back to work, I understand that we all do, that how can you perceive this differently where there's less resistance? And see if there's a perception that your guides can shift for you, and also bringing in a more like calm and peacefulness inside of you. Like you said, you've been experiencing the sadness. That's part of that resistance, that we have created around us. Emotional sort of response too. If you're asking for this, I feel that an awareness can come in. Or you can accept it that it is this way. Poor me, this really sucks. I have to go back to work. I'm a wage slave again, or whatever it be. And then woe is me. And then you're just in it and you're kind of sort of like Velcro, everything sticks to you. See if you can get, allow that space for it to shift. And it's like how it will, you'll just sort of like lead through it. It's like I felt this home and property for me. All of a sudden I could feel it. I could feel its sort of manifestation sort of pulling me. That's kind of what it felt like when I caught it in that moment. I was like, oh my God, I'm viewing it. I'm not creating it. And so you go into the job and you let the job pull you wherever it needs to pull you, like guide you. Because it may have a destination that you're unaware of. That's why you need to step into that flow.
I think a lot of things we forget to incorporate feeling, because as children we feel things. We feel an energy that excites us, so we manifest quicker. It's like we started our business over 2 years ago, and when we first started, it was like real panic, and we're like, how are we going to do this? It's just starting into it, and we're trying. My idea was to incorporate everything and just make everything happen. And when I went to school to study business, they says, take 1 or 2 things and incorporate them, and then put everything around the outside, and then slowly incorporate these things as you're moving along. So we've been feeling things out for 2 years, and a lot of stuff we thought we might have a part of this business, or I thought, is not there. And it's still changing, but we're still trying to feel this direction of where it's going to go and how it's going to open up. And it's looking at everything from different perspectives, because you started a business and it gave you that freedom. And it was like us, we would do something, things would get really big for a while, and then it would all shut down. And it's just like, okay, maybe I failed at this. So let's look at it from another way and let's start again. It would open up really big, things would really happen, get exciting, and then it would all close down again. But we've just kept on with this, and it's been over 2 years, and things keep coming in, and then we're just looking at trying to readjust it, like even going on online with computers. We had talked about it in the past, but through Zarina, this sort of came a little more into our reality. And then the COVID made it a little bit more, and still trying to integrate and make this more like even the thoughts of doing workshops. It's like figuring all of that out and putting it together. So feeling is a really important thing, and things do get big and then they sort of close down. And it's trying to find where that flow is, so everything just keeps coming in a way and you keep attracting all of that stuff, but allowing for those changes. And one of the things I learned over the years as I was trying to build my business and learn and do stuff, I was doing a lot of healing, and I was doing a lot of teachings and going places to a lot of ceremonies and trying to help people, and on the weekends trying to find places where I can go and do things. And I needed to still do framing. I still had to go in, work in construction and build houses to bring in income, because I wasn't generating enough to support myself. So I accepted the fact that I needed to frame houses. So for 5 days out of the week, I would go and frame houses and do stuff. And then 1 or 2 nights in the evening, me and Cindy may go and do some meditating. And then on the weekend, sometimes we would go off and do other things. We'd go where there's ceremonies and things. But knowing the job is supporting you for the time, it is a revenue. It's something in that needs the support, but you're still building your business. So you're still putting that positive energy and still trying to create the business and sustain yourself. So feeling where that's pulling you, and opening your mind up to see if it's trying to show you more things. So accepting that feeling, it's like, it's not the end of the world. You still need that support somehow, but you want to transition over here. So I always tell Cindy, it's like, okay, we're leaving here. We want all that support to transition us into the new, so we still have that money and things to support us, so we can still go on living and doing the things we need. So looking at it in a different way, where the income starts building more and more over here, sustainable, so you can release more and more of this with time.
When it comes down to the feeling, I was thinking, questioning it. It's like, hey, what am I feeling? And then you find the words to describe. I'm feeling sad, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling pressure. Okay, so what is this pressure teaching me? Or what is this sadness teaching me or showing me? And then letting that question go and just allow it. It may answer right away, and just trust that that voice inside of you is telling you the truth. And it's like, okay, so you're teaching me to trust, or to have a bigger vision or something like that. And then if I'm learning this, if I'm learning to trust, do I need the sadness anymore? For example, it's like, because if I don't need the sadness, then I ask for it to leave. Take what it's teaching you, and then moving forward with the lesson. If you can catch it, I mean, and we can, but we get to become human. So
it's kind of like what Cindy was talking about, how instead of trying to control it, letting it unfold and letting it pull you towards it. Yeah, I think that the main thing I'm recognizing right now is that I have to change in order to get there. So it's like I'm making small changes, small things every day towards that future. Right now I'm doing the Joe Dispenza morning meditation every morning, and it's led to some pretty like crummy days, but I recognize that that's something inside me that needs to change so that I can vibrate with the future that I'm wanting.
I also noticed that what you did for your work as a massage therapist, you only open your schedule up 3 weeks in advance versus 3 months in advance. Those are small changes. It's like, hey, I don't know where I'm going to be in 3 weeks from now, guys. So I'm only going to book you a little at a time.
And I'm definitely creating way stronger boundaries with my massage patients. Like I'm like, they're like, oh, I want to book into like August. I'm like, no, I have no idea what I'm going to be doing in August. So nope. Yeah, you're exactly right, Cindy.
Yeah, these little shifts and changes and choices that we can make. And I feel you, Teria, when it comes to going back to work. And even I catch myself just being that robot in my job itself. But then I can also catch it in moments going, whoa, wait a minute, how did I get here? It's like, okay, rein it back in. And then I just put it out there while I'm working. It's like, okay, help me to see this in a bigger perspective, in a bigger view. And things will happen that day, that hour, the next day, that week, whatever, something shifts when I ask. Yeah.
One of the things we just started a couple of days ago was incorporating, there's a guy on YouTube named Brian Scott, and he reads Seth books and Neville Gooder and other things. And he has a lot of meditations about money. It's trying to attract money, more abundance, more this and that. And so we are experimenting right now with some of his meditations, because there's an 8-hour one while you're sleeping, it can play. So somehow that you will attract more money in. So this is right now an experiment. It's not something we've planned. It just sort of came up, and we've been sort of looking at too, is how can we have the revenue to support us to go out and do all the things we want to create and manifest. And so we thought, well, we'll give this a try and see if it's going to open some new door that somehow we haven't tapped into, because he talks a lot about this conscious meditations and different things about if you can go into a certain state, the universe has all the answers to resolve whatever your issues. So if you ask that right question, you might receive the answer either today or tomorrow or maybe a week from now, but you will get the answer that will bring that change. And he talks about other successful people who have done this throughout their lives, some people who have many corporations and companies. And so he explains things, but he also has a lot of other stuff like Seth. I like Seth's stuff. So Seth explains a lot of universal things with energy. So trying to look at that and seeing how it's going to open our world, our business, our lives up to something bigger maybe we haven't tapped into or looked at.
But I find that even when he's talking about this, Brian Scott, it's already what we're doing here in this meditation group. Like we are doing it, but then how can you also take it to another level within yourself? And sometimes we need that other outside force to give us a different perspective, a question, to open the doors more to.
Yeah, so last night in the meditation, and I was telling everybody, when we're meditating and focusing on you, ask if you can receive your answers. So while you're listening to everybody and you're quietly listening in this state, they show you things they're trying to help you get your answers. And I told Cindy after the meditation that I was being shown a whole bunch of stuff. As everybody was channeling to me what they were seeing, it was like I was staring into the horizon, and there was this huge giant cloud, and I was staring at it, and I could see all this energy and stuff moving. And I'm looking at this cloud, and I'm listening to everybody as they're telling me things, and I'm like, wow, this is like amazing. So like a telescope, I started zooming in. As I zoomed in, I could see these spirits and stuff in the clouds, and I'm like looking at them. I'm like, really cool. And I zoom in and I really look at a few of them, and then I pull back, and then I just see all this movement, and it was like I was going in and out. But Yet I was still hearing what Cindy had to say to me, Troudy and Petra and these other people that were there. They were all sharing this stuff, and the energy got really, really strong and deep, but it felt very amazing, and there was answers in it for me.
Yeah, and that was just him having his own experience outside of what we're doing with him as well. And yeah, so when we're focusing on you, ask to receive for yourself if you don't already. I mean, this is something you can do. And catch it and question it. Like while Joe was talking to you a few minutes back there, I was all of a sudden seeing like a big gray whale diving really deep into the deep parts of the ocean. And I'm thinking about how fast it takes the whale to go from the surface to like kilometers deep and then back up again. And it's sort of all of a sudden I caught myself. I was like riding this blue whale or whatever down into the depths of the ocean, then back up again. And I was like, oh, why? Like, how did that happen? Why this whale? And then I was feeling the fluidity of the whale, how it was like effortless to go to such depths.
And that's where you're allowing yourself to open up another part of your brain that accesses all the universe. It's always been there. When we were children, we knew how to do that really easily. We lived in that. But as we grew up and life conditioned us, we sort of moved out of it. And it's through meditations, and that is knowing you can do this. Sure, we're listening. Sure, we're watching. And sometimes we're even thinking, but we still have these these really amazing things come into our minds. And the energy is there, and the universe is trying to see if you're paying attention, because sometimes it will do something to see if we're really focusing and we're getting what they're trying to give us. So they do little spurts of things, and when I get really excited and see stuff, I always say I want more. So when I'm doing something, I end up getting more. So it's part of something I've done a lot in my life. I've learned that when I say I want more, there's my guides and other beings around me. They hear this and they bring this information in because they know I'm listening and it's something I'm receiving. And so they bring me more, and it seems to open an energy, and it seems to attract way more stuff. Because on my birthday, I was reflecting, and it was early in the morning, and I was sitting there by myself. Cindy had come home from work and she was sleeping, and so I was on Facebook, and it's all of a sudden it's like, tell everybody thank you for the birthday greetings that they were sending you. And then I started looking at my journey, how I left home 30 years ago, and when I moved to the city, how I didn't really know how to do a lot of things, and I was still trying to change my life and come out of old patterns and start new. And my decision to leave home and everything, and my hopes and dreams of the future. And then I was walking along that path and looking at all the ceremonies I had done and all the people I had met. And I always remember when I was a little boy how my granddad always says, read, learn, ask questions. And learning is important. He says, you see me, he says, when I cross the other side, even on the other side, I'm going to be learning things. And so he always encouraged me to do that. And wherever I went, even to ceremonies and stuff, I would ask questions. And life is really a learning experience. And that learning is so important, to be curious about these things that you think about, and that. And even from childhood, sometimes you thought things in the future when you grew up. Maybe you would look at this and maybe really there was something deep in it, but you never ever went back to look at it. And I was really, really thankful for my granddad telling me, always learn, always read, always ask questions. Because through it all, I've learned and grown, and I've come a really long way. And so I sort of wrote a little bit of this in what I was doing. And I was really grateful for all the different people that come and gone in my life too, because a lot of the elders that I knew when I first got to Edmonton, a lot of them have crossed to the other side. And I have searched for these kinds of old medicine people, and there's not really many of them around. So I'm really thankful for the things they have taught me and the ceremonies that helped me to grow and become the person I am today, and all the books I have read and all the different cultures I have investigated and looked, astrology, numerology, I Ching, so many things, Buddhism through Tibetan Buddhism through Thai, and just different people I sat with that helped me to explore and look deeper into things and discover answers. And I saw how it all fit into my granddad's teachings as a child, how he did things and made me do repeated repetitions over time. And he always told me, always remember. So I'd always go back to my memories and look at things and then compare them with where I was going and what I was doing. And even when there was times of fear or doubt or being unsure of things, somewhere inside me, I knew I would come out on the other side and I could look back on it all and learn from it. So that learning and that appreciation of looking into things sometimes is so important, of moving and walking forwards, and actually just going places and meeting people sometimes is a very, very big experience in life.
Yeah. So ask, what am I learning right now? Why is this going on? And how am I experiencing my reality here? Is there something I need to see? And because you don't know the future yet, you're in the sort of the flow of it, right? So it's happening all around you, and sometimes it's hard to wake up and see that viewpoint. So I think that's what we're getting at with giving you that perspective of what you're experiencing and how to question it and see if you can shift it to a higher experience than you've had before in the past. It's like we all know what it's like to work for money, you know, but how can we now have a higher level of that experience for the work that we do and the compensation we receive for that, and let the universe show you how it can change. And when it does, when you guys have that experience, please share because we can teach each other a thought process that you may have had that worked for you and may work for others as well when we share with each other. And like Joe was saying there about being grateful for all the experiences you have had, all the knowledge you have gained from those experiences, because it's helped you to be where you are today and who you are today. So there's an appreciation for that. And we all know that the more that we're in state of gratitude, the more that we can attract into our lives energy and connections. And yeah.
Part of things too is we get so busy on our adventure of going into the future. Sometimes we forget to reflect on life, on our thoughts, and some things we thought in the past. Some of those things were very, very big and profound, but we never really put a lot of energy into it. And I remember always saying, yeah, one day I'm going to have a company, or one day I'm going to have a business, or I'd say this to people, you're going to see one day I'm going to have this. And Cindy came across that BC business thing, and she says, why don't you give this a go? So I went in there, and that's where our business, and now I have this business, and Cindy wants his business, and she's been slowly moving herself towards that. And she has her fears and doubts too. So, but she goes inside and she sort of motivates herself to go forwards a bit more, explore it. And she's more acceptant of letting go of a lot of old thoughts and beliefs, which is freeing her. She's finding new things, and I think it's attracting a lot more to her, and she's feeling more fuller, like even her mind, her awareness of the universe, and that seems to be speeding up.
I think in my meditation this morning, I really was thinking about attachment and like how attached I was, or I guess you could say addicted as well, to like those old feelings, the knowns, the things that you know about your life. And I had this vision where I was like in this blackness, and it was like all creative energy. And I was like, whoa. And I could feel how I was focusing all of this energy on these things I was attached to, like the stuff that's already going on in my life. And then I felt myself just detach from it. and I was like in this creative energy, and I was like, wow, so many more things can happen from here.
Yeah, that's the beauty of life, right? Is the unknown, and
Yeah.
discovering different things is so important because we get stuck in something and sometimes we burn that energy out and it was only to move us to a certain place and time.
Mm.
And then you open those doors and all kinds of new things come in and you're like, wow, you're all excited again, right? But we still need those things here that's supporting us to move here so we're able to be successful. But like I say, moving one energy over to another one is something new we're all trying to discover at this time. Because if we're moving into the age of Aquarius, it's like nobody knows exactly what the future is. All this new energy and stuff we're going to be living and working in is going to be brand new. So we're slowly stepping into those stages, and through meditation or being more peaceful and giving permission to move ourselves in that direction seems to like attract things. It brings change because more and more people are doing that because the world is not sustainable at this moment. So people are trying to step where they can sort of do things in a way that feels right for them. Because I know I look at a lot of stuff, and even with my visions last night in the meditations, we're talking about remote viewing and seeing things that are in the future. And there's some people that come to the meditation are shown a lot of stuff. And they're always like, well, maybe in 100 years, but I just want the universe to give me bliss and just let me live in my happiness. It's like, I don't really want to deal with these visions. Like, and I'm like, but the universe is showing you this for a reason, because maybe this is something you're going to see in your lifetime. And maybe there's a reason you're being shown, because maybe you need to reach out to other people and use this information to help them not to fear and sort of walk forwards. And I was telling everybody, I was like, each one of us came into this world with a gift, something very beautiful. And if you use that gift to the highest ability to help other people, open up space, work with the universe in different ways, they will bless you with more, and you will find more and more things. You will discover all kinds of other things of abilities and things that will, and you'll even attract people that will talk to you, that will open your mind to new stuff that you never ever thought or perceived, which will bring in other abilities, and it'll change so many kinds of things, and it goes this way and it goes this way, but there's so many other levels, and the universe moves it around. So we're trying to let them know that even though I have all this awareness, I'm not trying to stay open and on all the time. It turns on and off when I come in contact with people. If there's something I need to help them with or not, it will activate or trigger them to ask or say something. And these things play themselves out. I don't really try to be in this altered state. It's just somewhere I've been sort of plugged in as a child in this energy, and it just sort of turns on and off at will. And I got so used to it being that way, where I know a lot of people are just trying to be in this state, and I'm like, you don't really need to. You know this gift is there, and it'll turn on when it needs to, and it'll turn on, because we still need to be human too.
Giving yourself permission to have that experience more often, to know when to connect, when to disconnect. Another one we've mentioned before is asking that your vibration match a higher vibration. Like I did that one with Joe. I asked my guides to help me to match his vibration. So I'm not trying to take anything from him. I'm not trying to become him. There's no so much agenda, but like taking it to another level. Leveling up is kind of how I want to say it. And whereas to Joe, it's normal to be that way. To most of us, it's we have to remember how to be that way, and asking for that help to plug in, plug out, in and out. And he's liked how he said, he's like, I don't stay on all the time yet. There's part of me that is on all the time, because he can go in and out just like a breath. It's so normal to him. But a lot of the people today, we see that they have that taste of that higher vibration, that higher energy, and they want it all the time. And they can't be open all the time because they don't know how, and they can burn themselves out and it can get distorted because you got to be the human, right?
Yeah. I always tell people everybody can be like me or more than me. I always give permission. It's like you need to meet people who are gifted. You need to meet people who are able to remote view or astral travel or do other things, because that helps you to understand that maybe somewhere inside yourself you can do that and it's okay. And maybe you'll go past this person who taught you. Later you may come back and teach them and open them up to bigger things. So I'm always open to growing. I'm always open to learning. There's things out there that I still don't know about that I may still need to somewhere come across and learn about. But with the universe, I know when I ask questions, I will always get the answer. People in the past used to be really bad about this, especially in Edmonton when I was taking theta healing.
No,
What it was, pranic healing.
pranic healing, yeah.
So I was taking pranic healing and I thought, okay, I'm going to get certified so I get put up on the wall. And people stop asking me, well, what are you doing? How you're doing it? They're like, oh, you're doing reiki. Oh, you're doing this. I'm like, no, I just ask the universe and they just show me all of this. And I can't even explain it because it's like 10 different things going on in my mind. And they're your angels, your guides, they know everything. So I'm just doing whatever is asked of me. And I know that energy is going to change everything because somehow it's an energy form and I'm just some sort of a conduit and there's no power or nothing. And so I was taking this this pranic healing course. And the lady who's the head of it lives in Vancouver Island and she came to Edmonton and sat in with us. And I was sitting there and she was really staring at me. And I'm like, okay, she got a problem with me or something? Like, did I pick my nose or do something wrong here? Like, she's giving me this weird look. So I'm looking at her and she finally looks at me really hard and she says, what are you doing here? I'm like, what? She says, what are you doing here? I says, I want to get certified so I can put it up there and that way I can tell people I do pranic healing and then they'll feel safe. And she says, why? She says, everything in this book you can already do. So why are you paying thousands of dollars to do this when you already know everything in this book? And so everybody realized, and so they started playing these games with me. One guy would go to the internet and look up all kinds of weird stuff. And he'd meet me for coffee and he would say, hey, Joe, do you know this? I'm like, just wait. And then I'd ask the universe and they give me all the answers and I tell him all of this stuff. And he's like, but how did you know that? I'm like, I just asked. They have all the answers. They show me everything. And so he'd go off and he's like, I'm going to find something he won't figure out. So he'd investigate and find stuff. And he would come back and do this again. And I would always tell him everything. And he's like really confused. It's like, I spent so long reading and trying to figure this out. And all you do is go plug in. All of a sudden, it's like anything he asks me, I can give him all the answers to. And so this became a game and it became very tiring. I'm like, why are you doing this? Why don't you just go into that space in here and know everything that's on this planet came from the universe out here. It's already known and it's already been done before and it's been brought here for us. So we're going back into all this old information that we knew before we went to sleep. Now we're bringing it back just to access. So there's some part of the universe that's like a giant computer. And if you really believe in it, you'll have all these answers. You'll have all these gifts. You'll have all these abilities. And it will teach you all about it. And this is something I discovered as I grew up throughout my life.
And you can too.
Yeah. And I try to encourage Cindy for like 9 years. It's like, you can be like me. Maybe one day you're going to be my teacher and show me all kinds of stuff that I don't understand. I say the same thing to other people, even Mercedes and them in the meditation. It's like, you can all be this. It's okay to tell the universe, well, this is really exciting. Can I be that? Is there a potential in me? Do I have the desire and the means to carry this energy and use it? All this stuff coming and seeing and knowing stuff, can I really be okay with that? And just do the little things, because I can walk in a place and somebody can be sick and my guides will ask them right away, am I supposed to help this person? They're like, no. I'm like, so why did you show me? They're like, maybe later we'll bring this person to you, or here's something you can share in a story or something with them, and somehow they will end up in the right place. And they'll usually show me where this person goes, whether they meet a teacher or they go to the doctor, whatever. But however they fix this, I will usually get shown things. And I'm like, I'm not responsible for everything. The universe has been evolving planets and beings and galaxies and things beyond our human capacity of understanding. And it's been doing it for billions and billions and billions of years. And the creator always wins. In the end, everything goes to the love, everything goes to the light in its own time. And you learn to really appreciate this beautiful, wondrous thing that I call the great mystery, because it's so mysterious to me. It's so loving and beyond what I understand. So when I see these miraculous things and changes and futuristic stuff, I mean, just in awe. It's just like I want to get on my knees and just go, whoa, like, yeah, this is beyond. It's so beautiful. And so I really appreciate that. And I want to see Cindy, and I want to see everybody become their fullest potential in this lifetime. So in my prayers with the meditations and when we do this and that, I always try to do this. I always try to ask somehow that anything that's in the way gets lifted out, and whatever your gifts and abilities and whatever you're going to do in the future and the people you're going to meet to change, that your path opens up clearly and you just learn to enjoy and go down this path and discover all these things. So everybody can be something, and we're all here to assist one another. And the future at this time is unknown. Like they say, we're going to be able to say orange and it will just manifest in our hand and we can eat it. So the energy will just do things. We fully don't know how to do that with our mind right now, because some people have had this energy, they would use it with negative thoughts and do a lot of harm. So we need to be able to walk into, they're the ones who are going to bring this through and do a lot of amazing things.